The hunt for the remaining 4 Shadowmaws took exactly 72 hours. Commander Zefter watched in horrified fascination as human forces conducted what could only be described as a methodical extermination campaign. These weren't random search efforts or desperate defensive actions. This was systematic predator eradication carried out with industrial efficiency. Specimen 6 fell on day 2, when human tracking teams followed its trail through the Blue Mountains. The creature had tried to establish a hunting territory in a national park, assuming the dense forest would provide cover and confused prey. Instead, it found itself facing park rangers who had decades of experience managing dangerous wildlife. Supported by military units equipped with thermal imaging and coordinated air support, the Shadowmaw never had a chance. Helicopter-mounted spotlights pinned it in an open clearing while ground teams established firing positions. When the creature charged toward what it thought was the weakest point in the human perimeter, it ran straight into a prepared kill zone. "Target eliminated," came the radio confirmation. Specimen was approximately 4 meters long, covered in natural armor plating, armed with retractable claws. No human casualties. Requesting cleanup and biological analysis team. Dr. Veltar monitored the biological feeds with growing dread. "They're not just killing our specimens. They're studying them. Look at these readings. They're conducting detailed examinations of each corpse, mapping anatomy, analyzing capabilities." The implications were terrifying. Humans weren't just responding to an immediate threat. They were treating this as a learning opportunity. Each encounter provided them with more data about alien predator design, capabilities, and weaknesses. If they ever encountered similar creatures again, their response would be even more effective. Specimen 19 lasted 3 days before human forces tracked it to a cave system in the Northern Territory. The creature had gone deep underground, following instincts that told it to wait until the hunting pressure decreased. But humans had located its hideout using seismic sensors and underground mapping technology. Rather than risk personnel in a confined space assault, they had sealed every exit except one, then used mining equipment to flood the cave system with a mixture of industrial solvents that were toxic to carbon-based life forms. The Shadowmaw died without ever seeing its killers. "They're using industrial resources as weapons," the Drakthari representative observed with something approaching admiration. "Mining equipment, construction tools, agricultural chemicals. Everything in their society can apparently be repurposed for killing." Ambassador Quillith had been reviewing human historical data, and what he found made the situation even more disturbing. This is not unusual behavior for them. Records show they have systematically eliminated dangerous predators from their entire planet. Large carnivores, venomous species, anything that posed a significant threat to human populations. They didn't just defend against these creatures, they drove them to extinction. Extinct species cannot adapt or return, Scrix realized with dawning horror. They don't just win conflicts, they eliminate future threats permanently. The penultimate specimen met its end when it made the mistake of killing a human. Specimen 8 had managed to catch an isolated hiker in the Queensland rainforest, following its original programming to hunt solitary prey. The attack was successful by any tactical measure, quick, clean, and conducted far from other humans, but the victim had been carrying a tracking device that recorded his location, vital signs, and final moments. When he failed to report in, search and rescue teams found his remains within hours. More importantly, they found traces of the creature responsible. What followed was not a search mission, but a manhunt. Hundreds of human volunteers joined professional trackers, military personnel, and wildlife experts in a coordinated pursuit that covered hundreds of square kilometers. They used dogs, aircraft, ground-penetrating radar, and techniques that impressed even veteran Galactic Council observers. The Shadowmaw was located, surrounded, and eliminated within 18 hours of its attack. But the human response went far beyond simple revenge. They wanted to understand how the creature had managed to kill one of their own, and how to prevent it from happening again. "They're not just angry," Dr. Veltar reported as he watched human forensic teams examining the scene. They're treating this as a failure of their defensive systems. They're analyzing how their security protocols broke down and implementing improvements. The final specimen lasted longest, not because it was better at hiding, but because humans were using it as a learning opportunity. They had located specimen 1 within hours of beginning their search, but instead of immediate elimination, they established a containment perimeter and began studying its behavior patterns. They're experimenting on it, Zefter realized with growing alarm. They have the creature trapped in a confined area and they're testing different approaches to see which are most effective. The humans tested various weapons, tactics, and strategies against the captive predator. They documented its speed, reaction times, and adaptive responses to different threats. Most disturbingly, they were clearly preparing for the possibility of encountering similar creatures in the future when they finally killed the last Shadow Maw. It was with a new weapon system they had developed specifically for hunting large, armored, intelligent predators. The creature died instantly, struck by projectiles that had been designed based on detailed analysis of alien anatomy and physiology. Threat elimination protocol confirmed, came the final radio transmission. All 20 specimens have been accounted for, beginning comprehensive site cleanup and evidence analysis. Recommend maintaining elevated alert status until we understand the origin of these creatures. The last word sent a chill through the alien observers. The humans weren't treating this as a natural disaster or random animal attack. They suspected intelligent design behind the creature appearances, and they were beginning to look for answers. Dr. Veltar was studying human communication intercepts with growing unease. They're asking the right questions. Wildlife biologists are pointing out that these creatures show no genetic relationship to any Earth species. Military analysts are noting the coordinated timing of appearances across multiple locations. Some of their scientists are openly theorizing about extraterrestrial origins. Impossible, Zefter protested, though his conviction was wavering. Their technology cannot detect our ships. Their science is too primitive to trace the specimens back to off-world sources. But the evidence suggested otherwise. Human scientists were conducting detailed genetic analysis of the Shadowmaw remains, comparing them to every known Earth organism. When they found no matches, they began looking outward. Radio telescopes across the continent are now scanning for unusual transmissions, reported the intelligence officer. They're specifically looking for signals that might correlate with the creature appearances. If they detect our observation frequencies, the implications hung in the chamber like a toxic cloud. Discovery by a species this capable of systematic predator elimination would be catastrophic for the Galactic Council's operations. We need to withdraw immediately, Ambassador Quillith declared. Cease all transmissions, destroy all evidence, and retreat to minimum safe distance. This experiment has provided more than enough data. What data? Scrix demanded. Our perfect predators were eliminated in less than a week by creatures we thought were helpless prey animals. The true scope of their miscalculation was becoming clear as final reports streamed in from the surface. Humans had not just survived the test, they had passed it so completely that the testing apparatus had been destroyed and reverse-engineered in the process. 20 Shadowmaws, Dr. Veltar summarized grimly. Creatures that eliminated the Helix civilization, destroyed 3 other advanced species, and had never encountered meaningful resistance. All dead within 96 hours, killed by species we classified as harmless prey animals. But the worst revelation came from analyzing human communication patterns during the crisis. Their response had not been chaotic or desperate. It had been methodical, coordinated, and conducted with the efficiency of a species that had extensive experience dealing with existential threats. They've done this before, Ambassador Quillith realized as he studied the tactical data. Multiple times. This level of coordination and tactical sophistication doesn't develop overnight. Humans have been systematically eliminating threats to their species for thousands of their years. The timeline was terrifying when properly analyzed. Humans had driven extinct every large predator on their planet, eliminated most dangerous species. and established dominance over their environment not through technology but through superior tactics, coordination, and ruthless efficiency. They were already apex predators before they developed advanced weapons. We need to reassess our threat evaluation protocols immediately, the Dracthery representative declared. If we've misclassified a species this dangerous, how many other harmless civilizations are actually potential galactic threats? Commander Zefter stared at the tactical displays showing human activity patterns across Australia. Military units were maintaining elevated alert status, scientific teams were studying alien remains and civilian populations. The release pods descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their heat shields glowing against the Australian night sky. 20 metallic capsules scattered across the continent, from the red deserts of the outback to the coastal forests of Queensland. Each pod's occupant stirred as atmospheric pressure changed. Alien senses detecting the rich scent of abundant prey, Commander Zefter watched from the observation deck of his command ship. Tactical displays showing the precise landing coordinates. Release sequence complete. All specimens have landed successfully and containment systems have disengaged on schedule. Dr. Veltar monitored the biological readings streaming from the microscopic trackers embedded in each shadow maw. Vital signs are optimal. The creatures are already moving to establish territorial ranges. Specimen 7 has covered 2 kilometers since landing, following what appears to be a scent trail. Human scent, Scrix observed with satisfaction. The creatures are already hunting. How long until first contact? Based on population density maps and creature movement patterns, initial encounters should occur within the next few hours, Zefter replied. I've identified several isolated human settlements in the predicted hunting zones. Small populations, limited communication capabilities, minimal defensive resources. The first encounter came sooner than expected. Specimen 12 had landed near a remote mining camp in the Western Australian desert. The facility housed 37 humans engaged in extracting rare earth minerals, operating with a skeleton crew during the night shift. The Shadow Maw approached the compound just after midnight local time, its dark form nearly invisible against the starlit landscape. Security cameras caught brief glimpses of movement in the darkness, but the human guards dismissed the footage as equipment malfunction or desert wildlife. The creature circled the perimeter for nearly an hour, studying the layout, identifying weak points in the simple chain-link fencing. When it finally struck, the attack should have been swift and devastating. The Shadow Maw vaulted the fence in a single bound, landed silently near the main dormitory building, and began searching for an entry point. Its thermal vision showed bright human signatures clustered inside the structure, unaware of the death approaching them. But as the creature began working at a window frame with its claws, motion sensors triggered the facility's floodlights. The entire compound blazed with artificial daylight, and alarms began blaring across the desert silence. What the hell is that thing? The voice came from a guard tower 20 meters away, where a human figure was raising what the aliens recognized as a primitive projectile weapon. The Shadow Maw should have been temporarily blinded by the sudden illumination. Instead, its adaptive vision systems compensated almost instantly, and it turned toward the guard tower with a hunting roar that had terrorized civilizations across the galaxy. The human's response was not what anyone expected. Contact. Unknown hostile creature, approximately 4 meters long, approaching building all personnel to defensive positions. This is not a drill. The guard's voice carried across multiple communication channels simultaneously. Within seconds, lights began coming on throughout the compound as humans emerged from their dormitories carrying weapons, tools, and equipment. Instead of panicking and scattering as predicted, they moved with coordinated purpose. Jesus Christ. Look at the size of that thing, someone shouted. But there was excitement in the voice rather than terror. Mike, get the spotlights on it. Jenny, where's that dart gun from the animal control kit? The Shadow Maw charged toward the guard tower, expecting to eliminate the immediate threat before dealing with the other prey. Its powerful legs launched it across the intervening space in a single leap. Claws extended to shred its target. The human didn't run. Instead, he adjusted his aim and fired 3 rapid shots center mass. The bullets should have been ineffective against the creature's natural armor, but the mining operation used specialized ammunition designed to fracture rock formations. The high-velocity, armor-piercing rounds punched through the Shadow Maw's hide like it was paper, sending the creature tumbling to the ground with alien blood painting the desert sand. It wasn't dead, but it was injured and confused. No prey species in its genetic memory had ever responded to a predator attack with immediate, coordinated violence. "Holy shit, we actually hit it," the guard called down. "The thing's bleeding, but it's still moving. Bring more guns." Within minutes, the compound had transformed into a military operation. Humans emerged with mining explosives, industrial welding torches, and heavy machinery. They didn't flee from the wounded predator, they surrounded it. "Somebody call the military," the facility supervisor ordered. "And get me a satellite phone. The government needs to know about this immediately." The Shadow Maw tried to retreat, its tactical assessment recognizing this was not the easy feeding opportunity it had expected. But the humans had already organized a perimeter, and as it limped toward the fence, spotlights tracked its movement while voices coordinated intercept positions. "Don't let it get away! That thing could attack other settlements. Remember, aim for center mass. Those armor plates don't cover everything. Watch the claws, that reach is longer than it looks." On the command ship, the alien observers watched in growing bewilderment as their perfect predator was systematically cornered and killed by creatures they had dismissed as soft prey. The final death blow came from a mining charge that reduced the Shadow Maw to scattered biological fragments. This was an anomaly, Zephyr declared, though uncertainty had crept into his voice. One isolated group with unusual equipment and training. The other specimens will encounter typical human populations. But similar scenes were playing out across the continent. Specimen 3 had attacked a rural homestead in Queensland, expecting to find defenseless farmers. Instead, it encountered a family that had been dealing with wild boar invasions for generations. They responded to the alien predator with the same methodical efficiency they used against any dangerous animal, coordinating via radio with neighboring properties to organize a hunting party. Specimen 17 approached a small coastal town. Following the scent of concentrated human population, the creature emerged from the forest expecting to find panicked prey scattering in all directions. Instead, it found a community that included former military personnel, professional hunters, and fishing crews accustomed to dealing with aggressive marine predators. They responded to the threat with military tactics and heavy weapons normally used for shark control. Most disturbing to the alien observers was how quickly human responses evolved. After the first few encounters, information spread across their communication networks at incredible speed. Images, tactical data, and killing techniques were shared instantaneously across the entire continent. "They're adapting," Dr. Veltar reported with growing alarm. "Each subsequent encounter shows improved human tactics. They're learning from previous engagements and modifying their approach." Specimen 9 discovered this the hard way when it approached a research station expecting to find scientists and support staff. Instead, it found a prepared defensive position with overlapping fields of fire, explosive traps, and backup communication systems alerting military forces to the situation. The creature never made it within 50 meters of the buildings before being eliminated by concentrated gunfire from multiple positions. How did they prepare so quickly? Strix demanded, her compound eyes fixed on the tactical displays. The attack occurred only hours after the first encounters. The answer came from their communication intercepts. Humans were not responding as individuals or even small groups. They were functioning as a single, coordinated organism. Information flowed instantly across vast distances through their primitive but effective technology networks. Military forces, police departments, wildlife services, and civilian populations were sharing data and resources in real time. "Commander," Zephyr watched with growing unease as his tactical display updated with new information. Green markers representing successful Shadow Maw, Releases were rapidly being replaced by red markers indicating creature termination. In less than 12 hours, 8 of his 20 specimens had been eliminated by human forces. The remaining specimens are avoiding populated areas, reported the tactical officer. They appear to be adapting their hunting patterns in response to human resistance. Good, Zefter said, trying to maintain confidence. This proves the creatures are capable of tactical adjustment. They will survive by avoiding direct confrontation and picking off isolated individuals. But the humans were adapting too. And faster than anyone thought possible, within 18 hours of the first encounter, Australian military forces had deployed specialized hunting teams to every region where Shadowmaw activity had been detected. These weren't standard military units responding to an unknown threat. They were purpose-built predator elimination squads, equipped with weapons and tactics specifically designed to kill large, fast, intelligent creatures. Where did they acquire this knowledge so quickly? Dr. Veltar wondered aloud as he watched human forces executing complex search patterns with military precision. Their response protocols suggest extensive experience with similar threats. Ambassador Quillith, who had been silently observing the disaster. The Galactic Council had been watching Earth for 3 cycles now, and the debate raged on in the crystalline halls of their mothership. Commander Zefter of the Krillian Empire stood before the assembled representatives, his forearms gesturing dramatically as holographic images of humans flickered in the air around him. "These creatures are pathetic," he declared, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 12 worlds. "Look at them. No natural armor, no claws, no venomous bite. Their teeth are flat and useless. They cannot even survive in most of their own planet's environments without artificial coverings." The other council members murmured their agreement. The Vorthak representative, a towering insectoid being named Scrix, clicked her mandibles in what passed for laughter among her species. "Their military technology is primitive at best. Chemical propulsion, nettle projectiles, and crude explosive devices. My hatchlings could develop better weapons." Ambassador Quillith, the eldest member of the council representing the ancient Nexari race, stroked his elongated chin with a tentacle. "Yet they have spread across their entire planet. They have eliminated most other large predators from their world. This suggests some level of competence. Competence born of numbers and luck," Zefter dismissed with a wave. "Remove their technology, place them against real predators, and they would crumble like dust. They are soft, weak, slow. They lack the killing instincts that define true apex predators." The hologram shifted to show various Earth animals. Lions stalked across the savanna, sharks glided through dark waters, and massive bears roared in mountain forests. Even their own planet's predators are laughably weak compared to what we have encountered across the galaxy, Zefter continued. "These humans have never faced real danger." Scrix leaned forward, her compound eyes gleaming with interest. "What do you propose, Commander?" "The Council has been debating humanity's potential for standard cycles. We need to determine if they pose any future threat to galactic stability." "I propose a test," Zefter announced, his voice carrying the excitement of a hunter who had spotted easy prey. "We have collected specimens from the deadliest worlds in the galaxy. Creatures that have evolved in environments that would kill these humans instantly. Predators that have hunted and eliminated entire civilizations. We release them on Earth and observe how quickly the human population collapses." The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the ship's power cores. Ambassador Quillith's ancient eyes narrowed as he considered the proposal. "You wish to conduct an extinction test on an entire species?" "Not extinction," Zefter clarified quickly. "Evaluation. We select a small area, perhaps one of their island continents. We release a controlled number of specimens and observe their response. If they prove as weak as I suspect, we terminate the experiment before significant damage occurs. If somehow they surprise us," he paused to let his amusement show, "then we will know they possess hidden strengths." The Dracthari representative, a reptilian being covered in natural armor plating, spoke for the first time. "Which specimens do you propose using?" The Council's collection includes creatures that have ended civilizations far more advanced than these humans. Zefter's eyes lit up with anticipation. I suggest we begin with the shadow moths from Kepler 442b. They are perfect hunters, evolved in perpetual darkness. They can track prey across continents by scent alone, move faster than most starships at sublight speed, and their bite can penetrate battle armor. They have never failed to eliminate their target. Interesting choice, Scrix mused. The shadow moths destroyed the Helix civilization in less than 20 rotations. An entire species of advanced beings reduced to extinction by just 50 specimens. Exactly my point, Zefter said triumphantly. The Helix had energy weapons, personal shields, and fortified cities. These humans have none of those advantages. I estimate complete population collapse within 10 of their solar rotations. Ambassador Quillith remained silent, his ancient mind processing the proposal. The Nexari had survived longer than any other known species by being cautious, by studying their enemies before acting. Something about this proposal felt rushed, incomplete. Commander, our observations show these humans have survived multiple extinction events on their own world. Ice ages, massive volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts. They adapted each time. Survived by luck and hiding, Zefter countered. Those were environmental challenges, not directed predation by intelligent hunters. The shadow moths are not random disasters they can wait out in caves. They are perfect killing machines that will pursue every last human until none remain. The Vorthic representative was already examining tactical displays on her personal interface. The shadow moths would indeed provide an excellent test. They are large enough to resist most human weapons, fast enough to avoid capture, and intelligent enough to adapt to human tactics. Plus, they reproduce quickly if the hunting is good. Then we are agreed? Zefter looked around the chamber hopefully. We conduct a limited test on one of their island continents. Australia, I believe they call it. Isolated, manageable population size, diverse terrain for proper evaluation. The Dracthery representative nodded slowly. Australia is suitable. Desert regions will remind the shadow moths of their home environment. The humans there are spread out in small populations, easier to track individual responses to the threat. Ambassador Quillith finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of ages. If we proceed with this test, we must establish clear parameters. How many specimens? What constitutes success or failure? At what point do we intervene? Zefter had clearly prepared for these questions. 20 specimens initially. Enough to establish a breeding population if they succeed, but not so many that we cannot contain them if necessary. Success is measured by human population reduction and adaptation failure. We intervene only if the shadow moths somehow prove inadequate to the task. And if the humans surprise you? Quillith asked quietly. If they prove more resilient than expected. The commander laughed, the sound echoing strangely through his translator device. Honored ambassador, with respect, look at them. The hologram showed humans in various peaceful activities, shopping in cities, playing in parks, sitting in offices. They have grown soft in their artificial environments. Most have never seen real violence, never faced genuine predation. They spend their time staring at small devices, consuming processed food, and entertaining themselves with fictional dangers. When real death comes hunting them, they will panic, scatter, and die easily. Scrix was reviewing biological data on her screen. The shadow moths possess several advantages the humans cannot counter. Thermal vision, echolocation, natural stealth capabilities, and most importantly, they hunt in coordinated packs. Human military forces might initially respond, but shadow moths have previously adapted to energy weapons and advanced tactics. Primitive human weapons should pose no significant threat. Their psychology will be their greatest weakness, added the Dracthery representative. Humans form emotional attachments, prioritize individuals over group survival, and have been observed sacrificing themselves for trivial reasons. These traits will make them vulnerable to predators that exploit such weaknesses. Ambassador Quillith remained unconvinced, but he was outvoted. The other council members had already begun planning the logistics of specimen transport and release protocols. "Very well," he said finally, "but I insist on comprehensive monitoring. Full sensory coverage of the test zone, genetic tracking of both predator and prey populations, and immediate intervention protocols if events develop beyond our control." "Naturally," Zefter agreed, though his tone suggested he considered such precautions unnecessary. "I will personally oversee the operation from orbit. The humans will never know we are observing their final performance as a species." The next several rotations were spent in preparation. The shadow maws were transported in specialized containment units, their dark forms writhing with barely contained hunger. These creatures had been captured from the ruins of 3 dead civilizations, survivors of conflicts that had lasted generations. They were perfect killing machines, evolved through countless battles against advanced prey. Dr. Veltar, the mission's xenobiologist, briefed the council on the creature's capabilities. Adult shadow maws average 4 meters in length, with retractable claws capable of piercing titanium alloy. Their metabolic rate is extremely high, requiring them to consume approximately their own body weight daily. They hunt continuously and have never been observed to show mercy or retreat from prey. "What about reproduction rates?" asked Scrix, ever practical. "Rapid when food sources are abundant. A breeding pair can produce up to 12 offspring per cycle. However, they will consume their own young if other prey becomes scarce, maintaining population stability automatically." Zefter reviewed the final tactical assessments. Human weapons analysis is complete. Their most advanced military hardware relies on chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Effective range is limited, accuracy decreases significantly under stress, and reload times are substantial. Shadow maws can cross typical engagement distances faster than human reaction times. The mission timeline was established. Release would occur during the Australian nighttime cycle when human activity was minimal and detect.